we look around at our reality, we can pick out obvious chains of contingency. There's philosophies out there that maintain there's no real cause and effect, and it's just all a matter of perception. I definitely think there's hard causes and effects, but I also think that cause can happen through just agency of the individual. For instance, geological processes take place over millions of years, but as a conscious agent, I can just walk up and break a rock apart in a matter of a few seconds. So you have to ask yourself the question, what's the difference between my agency and the cause and effect laws we see demonstrated in basic physics? For thousands of years, philosophers have tried to figure out the problem of cause and effect, how it happens, and how to solve the problem of infinite regression. Either there had to be an initial cause, or cause and effect go on forever ad infinitum. In this video, I'll take a look at some different theories of the origin of the universe in the context of the first cause. Admittedly, some of the theories I have in the video don't have anything to do with first cause arguments necessarily, but I want to keep them in to create an overall contextual perspective of universe origin theories. We'll start with contemporary theories and work our way through the older philosophical arguments. The multiverse hypothesis. The multiverse hypothesis posits the existence of a vast, possibly infinite ensemble of universes, each with its own unique properties and laws of physics. Proponents of this hypothesis suggest that our universe is just one among many, and that these parallel universes have different origins, physical constants, and fundamental laws. In the context of first cause, the multiverse hypothesis challenges the notion of a single ultimate cause for the universe. Instead of positing a singular first cause, multiverse theory suggests that our universe arose as a result of natural processes within a larger, potentially eternal multiverse. According to this view, the existence of our universe is not a result of deliberate acts of creation by a transcendent being, but rather the outcome of random variations and chance events within the multiverse. Some proponents of the first cause argument maintain that the existence of a multiverse does not eliminate the need for a transcendent cause, as it merely shifts the question of ultimate origins to a higher level of reality encompassing the multiverse itself. Digital physics. Digital physics is a theoretical framework that posits the universe at its most fundamental level operates similarly to a computer program. According to this view, reality is composed of discrete units or bits of information analogous to the binary digits, zeros, and ones in a computer code. Proponents of digital physics suggest that the laws of physics can be described in terms of algorithms and computational processes, and that the entire universe may be akin to a vast cosmic computation. In the context of first cause arguments, digital physics offers a novel perspective on the origins of the universe. Instead of invoking a transcendent deity or an eternal uncaused entity as the first cause, digital physics suggests that the universe might have arisen spontaneously from a primordial state of information. Within this informational framework, the universe's initial conditions and subsequent evolution can be understood as the result of computational processes unfolding according to predetermined rules. Digital physics sort of got me thinking about video games and AI video game characters. There was a Minecraft game where the character within the game was able to write code to create tools and capabilities for itself. And so these AI agents in these games are going to be, at some point evaluating their own code and becoming aware that they themselves are developed by code. They'll begin to speculate about their origins. Within the game, there's a determined amount of causation going on laterally. So if you break a rock, you walk on, you fall in a hole. All these different contingencies are programmed into the game. There's not an infinite amount of contingencies that can happen. I just started comparing this to our reality, that there's our universe. It really seems that there's a finite amount of possibility that can happen. And that's, analogous to a game in some sort. But where does the infinite regression emerge? And it emerges when we think about the origin of the universe or the origin of the game. How was the full game itself caused? Well, the game was caused by a programmer that, developed the universe for the characters within the game And then the characters become able to evaluate their own code and speculate about the cause and effect. And they'll come back to the initial cause of how did we get here, the creation of the game by the programmer. And humans are in a similar situation as AI characters, sentient AI characters would be within a game that could view their own code. We look at our reality and we look at the contingencies and we trace them back to what we think is a big bang or a first cause. And then that's where the infinite regression emerges, that now we have to consider how our universe was caused. And of course, it doesn't necessarily mean that we were caused by, let's say, an alien race or interdimensional beings that created like a civilization type game that they're playing, but you can't rule it out either. And then I look at the physics of the game, about how it's electronic, and these characters are reading their code, and then they probably assume that whoever created them would be also electronic. They wouldn't think about the fact that the form factor might be similar, but actually we're biological. And then I start to think about the differences between an electronic view and a biological view, and then extend that out to who may or may not be the creators of the civilization reality that we live in and what their nature is like. It's maybe the difference between the game and the difference between our reality can extend to this third level of the people that created our game and what their nature must be like. Maybe it's a mix of electronic and biological. Who knows? Maybe it is biological, or maybe we weren't caused at all. But it's an interesting thought experiment to try to extend out this idea from video games to our reality to whatever may have caused us. Simulation theory. Simulation theory, as it pertains to the concept of first cause, proposes a radical interpretation of the origins and nature of reality. According to this hypothesis, our universe is not the product of a traditional first cause or a divine creator, but rather the result of an advanced civilization or entity running a computer simulation. It's just like what I was talking about with the game, basically. In this view, the origin of our universe and the fundamental laws of physics are not inherently supernatural or metaphysical, but instead emerge from the rules and parameters programmed into a simulation. From the perspective of simulation theory, the notion of a first cause is replaced by the actions and intentions of the entities responsible for creating and maintaining the simulation. They possess the technological capabilities to design and execute incredibly complex virtual environments, of which our universe is but one instance. Simulation theory challenges traditional cosmological and theological frameworks by suggesting that our reality is not a product of a transcendent deity or a cosmic event, but rather the outcome of a deliberate act of creation by beings with advanced technology. It raises profound questions about the nature of existence, consciousness, and the relationship between the creator and created within a simulated reality. I'm sort of all about this. I think there's a lot of interesting patterns that imply a plan, but you have to check yourself with a good understanding of the weak anthropic principle. It basically says the universe might not be planned at all. It just seems like it was, because if it wasn't the way that it is, we wouldn't have emerged in order to review it, to look at it, to observe it, to measure it. Information theory. Information theory, a branch of mathematics and computer science, studies the quantification, storage, and communication of information. In the context of first cause, information theory offers a unique perspective on the origin of the universe. According to this framework, information is a fundamental concept that underlies the structure and behavior of reality. Proponents of using information theory to address the first cause question suggest that the universe may have emerged from a primordial state of information. In this view, information is not merely an abstract concept, but a tangible substrate from which all physical phenomena arise. The universe's initial conditions, laws of physics, and subsequent evolution could be understood as manifestations of the underlying informational substrate. I've heard of a similar field-style theory centered around entropy. The idea is that a fluctuation in the entropic field created an upwelling of order, and that's the order that we see around us today. Aristotle's concept of the unmoved mover. Aristotle's concept of the unmoved mover is a key aspect of his metaphysical philosophy. According to Aristotle, everything in the universe is in a state of constant change or motion. However, he posited that this motion cannot continue indefinitely without something initiating or sustaining it. The unmoved mover, as Aristotle described it, is a purely actual, eternal, and immutable being that serves as the ultimate cause of all motion and change in the cosmos. The unmoved mover does not undergo any change itself, but instead acts as the source of change for everything else. It's the prime mover that sets the celestial spheres and all the other natural processes in motion through its mere existence and contemplation. Well, Aristotle did not conceive of the unmoved mover as a personal deity in the traditional sense. His concept influenced later theological and philosophical discussions about the nature of God and the origin of the universe. Sometimes I think about just humans being the first cause. Our bodies contain a range of contingency all the way from hard physics and existence at a quantum level all the way up to what seems like almost pure agency. I mean, I can argue a long time about whether or not, truthfully, there's pure ideas. I really honestly think that every idea that we have is born of reviewing or looking at the world, the objective world, and then drawing parallels between different ideas, and then with the space in between, we fill it. But I don't know for a fact that there's any pure ideas. If there's a pure idea, honestly, it's the notion of God, because God defies definition, but yet the name itself implies that it can be defined. The idea of affirming something that avoids affirmation by definition, this 3-letter word is a paradox within itself. I think that's honestly the closest we can get to a pure idea. I'm not a theologian, and I'm not religious. I'm actually anti-theist, to be honest. Anti-theism is a thing. Atheism shouldn't be a thing. We shouldn't give a name to what isn't. So as far as God goes, there's just something about that transcendent idea of an affirmation of giving something a word, a symbol, and then saying the signified, and then its signifier is something that can't be given a word or a definition. It's paradoxical. It goes both ways at its core. So if there's any pure idea, that's it. And that's as far as it goes. And because of some of the other arguments I talked about in this video, we have to consider that the first cause did contain agency of some sort. It's not necessarily true, but given the evidence that we have about we create atmospheres in games, and the universe sort of traces back to a first cause, and that humans sort of contain first cause agency within themselves, that at least we have some evidence that it's possible that there was agency involved in the first cause of our universe that seems to trace back to an initial Big Bang. Though it's all speculative, but I want you guys to feel free to speculate on this channel on the cosmological argument. The cosmological argument is a philosophical argument that seeks to establish the existence of God based on the observation of the universe's existence. It posits that every contingent thing must have a cause for its existence. Since the universe is contingent, it too must have a cause. This cause is argued to be God, who is posited as a necessary being that exists by its own nature rather than being contingent upon anything else. There are several versions of the cosmological argument, but one common formulation is the first cause argument. This argument asserts that every event in the universe has a cause, leading to an infinite regress of causes, unless there's a first cause, and that itself is not caused by anything else. The first cause, according to the argument, is God. The argument from contingency. The argument from contingency is a philosophical argument that aims to demonstrate the existence of God by considering the contingency or dependence of things in the universe. It begins by observing that everything in the universe is contingent, meaning that it could have failed to exist or could cease to exist. From this observation, it follows that if everything in the universe is contingent, then the universe itself must be contingent. The argument then reasons that there must be a necessary being, a being that exists by its own nature and does not depend on anything else for its existence. This necessary being is posited as the ultimate explanation for the existence of contingent beings. We talked a little about the difference between our reality that causes a video game reality to be self-aware, AIs populating it, examining their own code, the teleological argument. The teleological argument, also known as the argument from design, posits that the order, complexity, and purpose observed in the universe suggests the existence of an intelligent designer, typically understood to be God. The argument begins by pointing to the intricate and finely tuned aspects of the natural world, such as the complexity of living organisms, the precision of physical constants, and the beauty of the cosmos. It argues that these features are unlikely to have arisen by chance alone and are better explained by the existence of an intelligent designer who intentionally designed the universe for a purpose. The argument from motion. The argument from motion, famously articulated by philosopher Thomas Aquinas, is one of the classical cosmological arguments for the existence of God. It begins by observing that objects in the world are in a state of motion, change, or contingency. Aquinas asserts that nothing can move or change itself but must be set into motion by something else. This chain of causation cannot regress infinitely. There must be a first mover, an unmoved mover, which initiates all motion without being moved itself. Aquinas identifies this unmoved mover with God, describing it as the prime mover who imparts motion to all things in the universe. The argument from motion suggests that behind the observable motion and change in the world lies a transcendent cause, which is pure actuality, devoid of potentiality. The first mover serves as the ultimate explanation for the existence and operation of the cosmos. When I think about the chicken and the egg paradox seriously, you just have to sort of imagine the separation started sometime in the distant past with a basic cell division. So at some point, the cells became too complex to completely divide, so they did the best they could and they left the new baby cell with evolutionary instructions for growth. At some point, a shell developed to protect the vulnerable offspring. So the whole chicken and the egg paradox emerged the absolute instant cells became incapable of passing on their complexity one for one. I did some basic research on the chicken and the egg paradox to get to a first cause. And it's ridiculous, but you find out that nobody knows or nobody has a good answer. It's like the best answer people could come up with was that the egg came first because eggs were around before chickens. And that's so ridiculous when you can think further back than that to the way cells divided likely. There might not be hard evidence, but it's very likely at some point that cells were not able to divide one for one, and they just started passing on instructions. And I'm sure there's some geniuses out here on YouTube that know a better answer to this. So talk about it in the comments. You know, I'm interested to hear what you say. The internet didn't give me much satisfying information as far as first cause when it comes to the chicken and the egg. If you like this kind of philosophical subject matter, help us out by liking the video and subscribing to the channel. And you guys, I'm going to do more of this spontaneous video stuff. So I know the authenticity is what YouTube needs to see in order to grow the channel, and I'm working towards that. I still need to do the informational delivery though. So anyway, enjoy YouTube.